Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Kevin Davis. Welcome back to a new episode of Kevirsyle Network. I am a comic creator, writer, author, entrepreneur, and I'm been out my go-giver at times. But today's guest is a new friend of mine I just recently met a couple months ago on Facebook. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Ronald Thomas. How you doing, man?
Just fine. Thanks very much.
Okay, can you tell us a little about yourself and what you do?
Well, I have unretired a few times. Uh, I've always had two careers going at the same time, so my academic work and my government work have tended to overlap. And then I
Hmm.
retired from everything D Day of 2023. And then a local university asked me to come back. So now I am a professor of management, but I think of myself as a full time author.
Wow. I'm like, a full-time author and you unretired twice. Wow, that is amazing. Oh, can you tell us what books you write? Like, what's your favorite genre to write?
Well, the current series is Cold War Action Adventure. I hope you're not getting all that engine revving in the background. I'm in a parking garage for my next meeting. But
Oh, busy, busy.
yeah, um, I have written science fiction, sword and sorcery, slice of life, but this current project is actually almost 40 years old. So I'm actually doing an article for a writing magazine called The Manuscript That Wouldn't Die.
Oh, what's that about?
Well, back in the 80s, I was a professor of journalism, but I had also been recruited by federal agencies. So I was doing contract work, consulting, and such. And one of the places that I was working was at Soldier of Fortune magazine shortly after they started. And at that time, they were trying to expand into having a
What's up?
paperback line of action novels, sort of like Mac Bolan or The Destroyer, that kind of thing. But they had no continuing characters, they were all one offs. So I had pitched to them, how about if I do a series? So I had laid out for them a plan for the first 12 books. And then shortly after I got the contract, they got out of the paperback novel business.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
So all of that got put in a folder. Uh, Notice I said folder, not on a disc, because these were the days of electric typewriters. So
Oh
all of
wow.
that got stashed, and I continued to work. And mostly then I was writing nonfiction for gun magazines, military magazines, martial arts magazines, anywhere that the check was good.
Hmm.
So, in essence, I was kind of living that action adventure lifestyle. And I just put the novels in a folder and didn't think about that anymore. I was doing some work with the sword and sorcery piece that I had mentioned, and that publisher and I thought, well, let's resurrect this stuff. And he wanted to produce the novels. And this was about 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And then his daughter texted me that he had died on New Year's Eve.
Oh wow.
So again, we're out of business. But through a friend of a friend, I was put in touch with another publisher who is really excited and has put out the first book and a short story based on the same characters. And book two is forthcoming this spring. I am already working on books three and four.
Wow. Uh, where can we find your books that you already published so far? Are they like on Amazon or
They're
bookstores?
they're on Amazon. They're also available direct from the publisher at
Okay.
docclancy.com. DOCCLANCY.com. One of his main businesses is that he is publishing a magazine in the style of the men's adventure magazines of the 50s and 60s.
Mm.
He's not doing Playboy or Penthouse. He's doing more True and Male and Stag. So there's some pretty girls in it, but action fiction and car features and manly stuff.
That sounds really cool, man.
It's got a
Um,
real retro style about it.
retro style. Okay, that's pretty cool. Awesome. Um, have you always wanted to be a writer, like early in your career, or is that like a different direction before you became a writer?
If my parents were alive, they would tell you that I was writing my own stories and making my own comic books and forcing relatives to read them when I was 8 to 10 years old.
So that you grew up reading comic books too and novels?
Didn't everybody? I mean, I
I actually didn't. So and I read
well,
novels, but I haven't read comics when I was a kid.
but when I was a kid, um, I was most keen on reading all the biographies of presidents and explorers and generals and things. And then I discovered Ray Bradbury in the school library. So that got me turned on to fiction reading and writing. And on the way walking back home from school, had to walk past the drugstore. And if you had a quarter in your pocket, you could get two thin comics or one thick one. So I was learning economics right then.
Wow, man. Yeah, I didn't start reading comics until 2020. That's when I actually found out that comics were a thing. Because that's when COVID hit. I was in the house. I'm always in the house because I'm an introvert anyway. But I wanted to like sustain my brain with something else, and I didn't want to be sitting around watching TV or being on socials all the time. So I started reading novels. Well, I always read novels, but I've always read novels. Then I learned about Marvel and DC comics. So I've always watched like the Marvel and DC movies and TV shows and animations, but I found out there were comic books, and so I read like their digital property of comics because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not.
Well,
Um,
in fact, these days we would talk about those things as intellectual properties.
mm,
It's not so much their adaptations. Tom
mhm.
Clancy said when somebody had asked him about why his movies didn't look like his books, he said, "I just sell them the title.
Oh wow,
So if you want to do something else and call it Hunt for Red October, go ahead. The check
go ahead
cleared."
for it.
But there was a study done, and I mentioned this to my classes.
Mhm,
Columbia University, and I think it was the School of Psychology, maybe School of Business. But
mhm,
they wired up people and had them watch television or listen to the radio or read. And if you were reading or if you were listening to the radio, your brain waves were those of a person whose brain was active.
mhm.
Because if you're reading, you have to imagine the scene setting, right?
Yeah.
If you are listening to a radio program and you hear some guy sloshing water in a bucket, your
Mhm.
brain imagines the creepy waterfront, right?
Yep.
But if
Yep.
you're watching TV, it does all the work for you. So people who
Mhm.
were watching TV had the brain waves of a brain at rest.
Hmm.
And you probably experienced this where somebody walks into the room and they say, "Hey, what's the score in the game?" "I don't know. You were sitting here looking at it the whole time." I don't remember, because it's sort of hypnotic. It's so relaxing and it does all the work for you so that
Mhm.
you really don't have to pay attention. And that's science.
I never thought about that. Huh. That's very interesting.
Uh,
Oh, what classes do you teach at the university?
well, it's interesting. I apparently am the only professor of management at this particular branch campus. It's a new program for them. They do a lot of healthcare, and they have people who are, say, studying nursing but want to get management skills in case they get promoted to head nurse someday. But yeah, I've taught industrial psychology, operations management. I've got project management coming up next month. So, really, soup to nuts. They haven't made me teach finance yet, but I'm not afraid. I'll do it.
Oh, we need some classes like that for finance and investing. And as a teacher, what is your thoughts on like investing? Because I always learned that people always encourage investing. Like, what's your take on investing?
Well, As a result of my own practices, I don't have to work unless I want to. So when this university posts a paycheck, like today, I'm just walking around and the phone beeps and it says, "You just got paid." Oh, yeah, I forgot they pay me for those classes because I don't need that money to live on because I was shrewd with the other things.
Mhm.
So what I learned was first, pay yourself so that no matter how much money you have or what's coming in, make sure you peel off a little bit for yourself. And I don't care if you're putting your pocket change in a popcorn jug or if you're buying savings bonds, or I do a thing at my bank. Every time I buy something, they slide $1 over into my savings account. So I'm kind of giving myself a tip. So when that kind of thing just sort of happens automatically, it's kind of like the way I paid alimony. I had it payroll deducted, so I never saw it happen. So the savings activity, I never saw it happen. And just that little bit of money suddenly turns into a lump, and then it turns into a considerable amount because it keeps getting interest on the interest. I did do one clever thing. Uh, I was a I moonlighted as a professional wrestler from like 1990 to 2018, and only worked full time for a couple of years. But again, I didn't need the money because I already had a regular job with insurance and benefits and everything.
Mhm.
So I took whatever I made in appearance money or selling merch or pictures, whatever, I put it in WWE stock back when it was $6 or $7 a share. So
Mhm.
anytime I got paid at a show, I just bought more. And when it got to $90, $95 a share, I unloaded. But had to sit there and be patient. But, it'd be very easy to take this extra money and then go hit the casino boat with it or something. I
Mhm.
figured I never needed to use this money for anything. So let me park that in something useful that might grow and just leave it alone.
Mm.
Because if you don't
Wow.
go back in and touch it, it keeps working for you.
Huh. That's wow. That makes total sense because I'm actually I'm in my master's degree in business administration, and I've been learning about investing and how you got. Uh, I've always heard the quote, "Let your money grow for you."
Yes.
Yeah, and I always love listening to other people like to tell me what their process is or what they think about what this quote means. Let the money grow for you, and it actually makes total sense now. Hearing from you how you invest it, how you let it grow, and how you're like just from a simple $1 from every check you get, it just let it grow and keep like paying yourself. That's really beautiful.
Well,
And as uh,
I really am not one for playing individual stocks. The
mhm,
first business course I took in college, they did make us do that. We had to do the stock market game.
mhm,
So this was fall of 75. We were just coming out of the Yom Kippur War, and oil prices were up and so on.
mhm,
So they give us this phony $1,000 and you have to spread it out. And I thought, I'm going to put a third of it in Owens Corning because they do the fiberglass insulation, and everybody was pushing insulate your roof. You're losing energy. You got to blow that stuff into the attic.
mhm,
So I figured, well, okay, this is a solid company and people are going to be using more of their product. So let's sit down on that. Southern Company, which is the regional electric utility, everybody needs electricity. So that's never going away. So
mhm,
that's a good, steady, chugging along kind of stock. And back then, Texas Instruments was leading the whole digital watch pocket calculator thing. So I figured I'll throw a little on Texas Instruments. It was trading a little bit high, but I figured I would ride it out. Son of a gun, Texas Instruments split after the classroom assignment was over. If they would have split a little bit sooner, I might have gotten an A. But that B plus, that was fine.
mhm.
Slow and steady. Same way I barbecue.
Slow and steady. Oh wow, man. Yeah. God, but I'll always aim for the A, but I have to settle with the B every time. Never fails.
I had to
Uh,
tell my students, but when I taught at Florida State, we actually had to put this in our syllabus. It
mm,
said the A is reserved for outstanding and creative college work. A
mm,
C is what you are expected to get. That is an average college grade.
mm.
And these kids had always gotten A's in high school, and now they get a B in college, and they start to cry. But I told them, no, we hold out the A because you did something so clever that nobody had seen it before, or you had a certain style, or there was something that you did. I had a
Mm.
student who somehow got Orson Welles and Adolf Hitler in the same term paper. She got an A. That was a clever
Mm.
connection to try to make. So yeah, go out on a limb. That's where A's come from.
Huh. So you grade A's only when you actually think outside the box, basically.
Yeah, I even as a basic freshman English teacher, you could get 50 points for being mechanically sound, no typos, proper punctuation, all of that stuff. Subject verb agreement. So it's a clean paper. That's half the battle. 50 points. 45 points is how well did you answer the question. So is it well organized, well reasoned? Are your examples sensible? So on. So you can get a 95 just with that. And that's an A anywhere. But those last 5 points, those are in my back pocket because you did something clever, creative, unusual. You took a chance. You did something. But
Mhm.
if you turn in a good, solid, clean college paper that answers the question, I can give you a 95 all day. But those five excellence points, reach out and do something.
That makes total sense. Okay.
You
And
still got your A, you just didn't get the A plus.
A plus. Yeah, I got you. Now I want to turn back to the magazine that you mentioned. Um, can you like go tell us more about the magazine that you have been writing or you have wrote?
Well, it's the same publisher that's doing my novels, and
Mm,
his magazine is called Caveman.
Caveman. Okay.
So, knuckle dragging, hairy chested, what they think men are. So he said,
Mm,
okay, I'll own that. But it's very slick. It's very nice. He'll have a couple of girls in there, and they're not fully naked, but they're suggestive. They're interesting.
mm,
But there'll be car features. There'll be a couple of short stories. He picked up one of mine. Well, in fact, it was the other way around. This was going to be a flashback in book 3. But he was so keen on my books that he said, can you do me a short story that I can put in the magazine to promote the novels?
mm,
And I thought about it, and I said, well, I've got a flashback that I could lift and turn it into a story of its own. So I'll do that. And he was very happy with it and ran it, and it turned out very nicely. Nice presentation in the magazine. But it's a very slick, heavy stock, nice quality of paper. It's a professional job. And one of the things that I like that he's doing is he has some public domain books and he has his string of authors that he works with. So, like, I am on his bookshelf along with the famous science fiction author Lee Brackett and people like that because he cycles between something public domain, something brand new. I think that also gives him a little time on the publishing schedule. But
mm.
however he does his magic, he's taking care of me, so I can't complain.
And as a writer, what's like your creative process when you're when you're crafting a story together? Like, how do you like outline it before you jump into the writing, or like, or does it depend on the story?
Oh, there's always a legal pad that's going to get sacrificed in the process. And it If I am on a long car trip, as I am today,
Mm.
I'll be on the interstate, and in my brain, I'll have a piece of dialogue or something that I think I can use somewhere. I will call myself and leave myself a voicemail with that, because you never know when it's going to come out. But ordinarily, yes, everything is very carefully engineered. And for the stuff that I'm doing, is it's kind of a little bit autobiographical here and there. Names were changed to protect the guilty. I go back through my own files and my own folders because I'm trying to think, where did I change planes? Oh, yeah, Istanbul. And I'm going through my old airline receipts and things so that my context and my details are right.
Mm.
One of the proudest accomplishments, and it means nothing to anybody else, but you have to get a few blurbs. People have to give you those little quotes to put on the back of the book. That, this was the greatest book since Shakespeare and the Bible had a baby. So I reached out to the publisher out at Soldier of Fortune, who has since retired, but he's a salty old Vietnam vet, special forces colonel. He knows what's what. And the blurb he wrote for me said, this is a thrilling adventure told by someone who has been there and done that. Well, I mean, that was gold. That moved my heart
Wow.
because he recognizes some of those details that, yep, that's where you would do it. That's how you would do it. And yes, the realism is there because half this stuff really happened.
Mm. Wow. And as a writer, what is like the best advice you would give for an upcoming writer when they want to tell their stories, nonfiction, fiction, or any type of genre they want to write?
Right. Get it down. If I just leave it rolling around in my head, all I am doing is entertaining myself. I'm not actually doing productive work. And I don't know any writer who just sits down at the keyboard and bleh, out it comes. I dated a professional poet for a while.
Mm.
She struggled over every word, every line break. The thing fits on one piece of paper. How can it be
Mm.
that hard? But she's looking at the rhythm, the sound, this word bouncing off the next word. Tear that up, try again. It's effort. I would like to give credit to the correct person, but the saying is 90% of writing is rewriting.
Mhm.
So you run through the thing and you get down your best idea and you say what you have to say, and then just let it sit for a day, and then come back to it. Go, oh no, that was weak. Oh, I said actually too many times, and then you get the red pen and you go to work on yourself. I find I can't edit on the screen, and I don't care what Microsoft Copilot wants. It doesn't know what I meant to say. I
Mhm.
print the thing, and then the next day I take it to my chair, and one trusty Dr. Pepper later, I will take that red pen to it, and then I'll make the notes. Sometimes actually, and there you go. I use the word actually again. I know what I mean to say. So I'm typing along and everything is flowing. And then when I read it, I realize I left out a couple of entire words because in
Mm.
my brain I knew where they went, but I never put them on the paper. And I could just read right
Mm.
through it as if they were there. A trick that I taught my journalism students because we were still doing mechanical paste up back then. I
Okay.
said, I want you to look at the story that you're putting in, read it from the bottom up, read it from the right side to the left, because now you
Mm.
can't get in a rhythm. You can't speed read. You have to go clunky and slow and look at each line and each word. Then you'll spot the things that were messed up.
Mm.
But after you've written and rewritten and then pasted, and yeah, you've seen this thing so many times, you have it memorized. You don't even need to look at it anymore. So
Mhm.
forcing yourself to work backwards and slow and steady, you'd be amazed how many little things that you catch yourself at.
Wow.
It's work. There's nothing easy about it.
Oh yeah. because I write pretty much every single day on my projects and everything, and my brain goes like 1,000 miles per hour. And when you mention about when your brain know a word that you put on a paper, but when you read the paper, you realize you forgot to put that there. That has happened to me so many times now since
It's
I
like you
became.
memorize the lyrics to a song.
Yeah, most definitely. Because I'm a visual learner, so I visualize every story that I'm writing because I know what I want to do. And something when I'm writing like my comic scripts or like my novel, I instantly go back in and reread what I wrote, make sure I put everything in, and I've have to rewrite like 100 times before I get to the final draft. And yeah, and I've always learned that the first time you write, it would not be perfect. You have to hone your craft. You have to keep going. Like, but nothing's perfect. But you have to hone your craft either way until you're confident that you want to the story to be out when you're ready
But
for it to
it's
be
but
out.
it's something, and you got it down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And just yesterday, I was on a live with a friend, and we were talking about that we don't believe like this writers or artist block that people say they have. Because it was like, what's your take on like do you believe that people have a writer's block or an artist block? Because we feel like that doesn't really exist. In a way, we just feel like people that use it as an excuse not to do what they want to do, or they just feel. I just feel like they feel like we feel like that they're just being lazy and not doing the part that we said we want to do.
I'm sure that there's a little bit of not being in the mood.
Mhm,
And there are some people maybe who want to live the life of a writer
mhm,
with, leather elbow patches and a pipe, and they just kind of walk around and be called a writer.
mhm,
But the actual job of writing, it's a very lonely, isolated thing. So you have to be self-disciplined. You got to be a self-driver. Do something every day, even if you didn't write anything.
mhm,
Maybe what you did is you tore an article out of a magazine and highlighted some stuff that you want to mention. Okay, that was part of the process. That goes into the resource folder of
mhm,
stuff you're going to come back to. But a day in which I didn't do anything
mhm,
feels like a wasted day.
mhm,
So I got to get in there, even if it's for 5 minutes, and I want to get this one line of dialogue right. So
mhm.
I'll tinker with that, and then okay, that feels good. Now I can go make dinner. You have to be about the work of a writer. It is a job.
Hey, hey, buddy. Wow. And because there's times I don't feel like writing, but I still do it because I know that's because writing is like my therapy to me. And so when I'm like not feel what I say when I feel like lack of inspiration, I put like YouTube in my background just to listen to it. Depending on what the mood I'm in. Like if I'm writing a horror story, I put on like the Halloween theme score in the background, just get myself in the mood for it. Or or just I play a random movie in the background, like to listen to because I know what I or to listen to the sound of it. Uh, do you do you think that could also be a really good process for writers, like to put something in the background and not have your office or room to be so quiet? Because quiet can be really intense, if I'm being honest.
I have that same thing. Uh, I'll turn the TV on and not even look at it. It's just keeping
Mm-hmm.
me company in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured one thing out, and remind me to come back to that therapy thing that you said.
Okay.
But I found that if I go into my study to go write,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very nice, the big ass computer, big ass screen, very nice pedestal desk, brand new chair. So I'm all set up to go in there and work. And for a while, I felt like I was punishing myself. I was isolating myself from the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I figured out what the problem was, that the TV is in the whole other end of the house, and I'm back
Mm-hmm.
here. And then I figured out, well, why don't I just open up a little cable window in the corner so I can still watch the news or a documentary or whatever was keeping me company that day, but I don't feel like a shut in because I have contact with the outside world in that little window on the screen. But I do. I like having some kind of noise. I type differently if I'm listening to jazz instead of classical music. So it's more restful or it's more active. But but the
Ah.
ther- but the therapy thing,
Mm,
I have a lot of little programmed journals,
mm,
like the story of your life, describe what your room looked like when you were 10 years old, just little writing prompts. So even if I'm not working on my stuff, I can work on me in one of those things and just spend 30 minutes with a pencil, reminiscing and thinking, but I got my writing muscles working. So maybe
mm.
that night, maybe the next day, I stretched out a little bit and I'm ready to get back to work.
Wow.
I find that a handy gimmick.
Oh, 'cause you like it's like you make yourself busy so you don't get into like a slump, if that makes sense.
Exactly, because I would be very happy in my big comfy chair and just watch cartoons, and that'd be fine. That'd be a nice day, but I wouldn't feel like I was getting anywhere. And as you notice from the experience colored hair, I have fewer days left than what I have already used up. So I don't
Mm,
want to waste the ones that are still in the bank. I
hmm,
want to get a couple of things done every day. Even if nobody else knows it, it makes me feel better.
yeah. And my friend here says taking a walk or doing some chores helps too to get the story in your head going because writing is 90% thinking about the story.
Totally true. Because you can do mindless stuff. I
Mm,
used to like cutting my own grass because I
mm,
could just walk behind that mower and it would do my 3 miles a day up and down around the yard and trimming and everything.
mm,
So I get my 3 miles in, but it's such a mind numbing activity because you just hear that lawnmower grinding and you're just going back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, in your head, you can work on some other stuff.
mm,
So, a mindless activity, your hands are getting something done and your brain can work on something more important.
mm. Yeah, because a lot of times, when I can, I sometimes like go walk around my neighborhood to get like to relax my brain, just refresh my brain, like basically get a change of scenery and
Well, what,
just
what do people say these days? You need to go touch grass.
yeah,
So you get
yeah,
grounded back in the real world and kind of shake yourself out.
oh
And,
yeah,
and I'll bet you and I both have a little touch of the attention deficit that we got to have something going on or else our brain goes away. It starts wandering around. So that TV in the
yeah,
background or music in the background, that gives those brain cells something to do while I'm working on something else.
yeah, oh yeah, because because when I feel like I'm being lazy, I instantly get up and try to do something else because I hate feeling like I'm not doing enough. And so I sometimes I do the laundry. I go out for a walk. I go to the forest park to walk around the forest. Um, and then sometimes I go to like the art museum to also get inspired because I am such a big fan of art and everything, and that and seeing art around. I see art pretty much in everything, from TV, from out that's being outside. I can write a poem about the sun or about the grass or that's anything outside, and that's how I kind of get my creative juices flowing, as people say.
Let me
Yeah.
let me give you an example that you just reminded me of.
Okay.
Um, there's a particular artist named Alex Ross, and he maybe does the most realistic superhero paintings of anybody, and he is
Mhm.
in high demand. Excuse me, to do covers and posters because like his Batman looks like he's actually wearing gloves that are made out of leather. His Iron Man is reflective. He's very good at that reflective metal surface.
Ni-
So this
Nice.
guy is
Okay.
super, super realistic. And he got stuck on a scene. in a Batman story, it's irrelevant, but Batman gets injured. Catwoman pulls his jersey off and looks at him and goes, "Oh my God, you're back." And you
Hmm.
never see it. But Batman says, "Yeah, 15 years of fighting will do that to you." Because obviously he's been shot and stabbed and set on fire and thrown off buildings and whatever. Batman is going to be pretty skinned up, right?
Yep.
So Alex Ross has this idea, if it was so shocking, what did it really look like? So he set out to actually do a painting of Bruce Wayne with his shirt off to show the kinds of scars and details and things, how tough it must be Batman. So I have a book chapter coming out. They're doing a book about that artist. And I said, I want to do a chapter about that one painting, the one painting of Bruce Wayne's back.
Hmm.
And I thought, let's analyze, the length of the scars, which ones look like puncture wounds, and how would that be? I wanted to treat it as a forensic analysis of Batman's injuries. And the title of the chapter is What If Batman Was Real? And don't tell anybody, but nobody has ever seen Batman and me together at the same time. So keep it under your hat.
Yeah. Like you heard him, guys. Keep that secret, guys.
Yeah, yeah. All you
Wow.
millions of listeners.
And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere, so like and subscribe to this video and leave a comment if you want to ask a question to Mr. Ron or me. Um, but wow, It's, I lost my train of thought for a second because that was a very beautiful thing about Batman. How you took that Batman to write your own basic story, and you say you listen to jazz music most of the time, and
Um,
when
I,
you're
I
writing.
there are a couple of people that I'm really hooked on, and
Hmm.
they're very obscure. The Canadian jazz fusion performer Gino Vanelli. I've been following him forever and ever. And the British pop group Swing Out Sister that did Breakout back in the 80s. I've
Mm,
been with them ever since. I'm very loyal to whoever I follow. But
mm,
um, as far as jazz, I'm
mm,
kind of old school, so I like Bob James, Maynard Ferguson,
mm,
George Benson, good instrumentals because I
mm.
don't need words in the background while I'm trying to type words.
Okay. That was my
I'll
question.
wind
If
up
you,
t-
I
I'll
was going
wind
to
up
ask.
typing the song instead of my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, that happened to me quite a few times actually. When I play music in my background, I type the words of the song and not the story that I'm writing. So I had to switch that up. I was like, wait a minute, nope, I'm not writing about you. I'm writing about this. But yeah, I have like a playlist of music that I know that gets me into the muse or motivation. I'm
Yes,
A lot of times I write horror and fantasy. So for example, I listen to the Lord of the Rings score. Um,
I'm
uh,
with you on that. I have a big collection of motion picture scores,
mhm.
and the original score from The Exorcist is just
Oh wow,
outstanding
I
writing
love that
music.
score.
Yeah, Mike Oldfield,
Oh my
Tubular
god,
Bells. Yeah, that's just really good. I wore that record out.
man. I even put Star Wars score into my
Yes,
playlist because I
that
want to
was
go in
that was
when
one
I
of
want to go on an adventure.
that was one of the things that we all did back in '77.
Mhm.
We went to the premiere. We went to the mall. We got our Star Wars iron-on T-shirts, and
That's so
then we went
cool.
and then we went to the record store at the mall, and we all bought that black Star Wars soundtrack album because
Wow.
yeah, everybody had to have that. That was the biggest thing ever. I mean, Star Trek had been off for 10 years. This is the first new good stuff we ever had. We were all very excited.
Wow.
We were
Yeah.
nerds.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a fan of Star Wars just yet because I'm still catching up on all of it. There's so much material of it. Um, but I really love the score of Star Wars, and because every time I want to go on an adventure, I listen to that score, and I just feel like I'm in like I visualize myself in space and just inside my story that I'm writing, and I just have a blast with it.
Well,
Um,
let me go to the business side of it because I talked about intellectual property.
mhm,
So Star Wars is one of those things. Um, George Lucas's great genius was he
mhm,
said, "Well, I'll take less for directing the movie, but I get to keep all the money from T-shirts and lunchboxes and crap." Okay,
mhm,
well, sure, because what do they care? And then it turns into what it turns into.
mhm,
I I told my students once because I was trying to make them understand that Jack London, Call of the Wild,
mhm,
if there was a magazine that had one of his new stories in it, they would print that real big on the front. New Jack London story inside. Because people knew it was going to be some kind of two fisted man against the elements, rugged thing, right?
mhm. Oh
They
yeah,
knew
oh
what
yeah.
he was about. And I said, that's what Tom Clancy is. Because if you play Rainbow Six on the PlayStation, I'm a
Mhm.
PlayStation guy, not an Xbox guy. So if you play Rainbow
PlayStation all
Six,
the way too. Yep.
so if you play Rainbow Six, that's
Mhm,
Tom Clancy. He didn't write the game, he's been dead. But the Tom
mhm,
Clancy brand means something,
mhm,
just like the Walt Disney brand. You know what you're getting if it's a Tom Clancy product. So, yeah,
mhm.
Star Wars is one of those things between the toys, the comics, the movies, the records, and yes, it's as pervasive as you want it to be.
My friend has a question for you. It says, Mr. Thomas, was there a poem or story you struggled with, and how did you eventually find your way through it?
Well, actually, this first book is the key to it. When I had first started proposing the paperback series, my first book is actually book two with my publisher. Because I thought you could just sort of start off with your fully realized character and go on and put him in an adventure. And my publisher said, you really got to have an origin story. We got to know why this guy becomes who he is.
Mhm,
And that was so difficult because so many of those pieces were parts of how I became who I am. So, like for the realism part, um, I'll give you one scene that actually it kind of hurt to write it. When I was getting my security clearance, some guy from Office of Personnel Management shows up at my girlfriend's door and goes, "OPM, I got to interview you about Ronald Thomas. Do you have a minute? Thank you." And she did. She had just got out of the shower. She's still in a robe with her towel around her head.
wow.
And she asked, "Can you come back?" "Nope, I got six of these to do today. Just take 5 minutes." He interviewed her while she was dripping on the carpet to find out about me to, check that off his list. So I wrote that scene and I had mushed together a couple of women that I knew. And yeah, I had to get up and walk away from that for a bit because I hadn't revisited those old days, but it was necessary for me to build that origin story for the character. I had to put myself back through some crap I didn't want to look at anymore.
Oh wow.
But that's where the
Man,
authenticity comes from.
that is true. That is true. And as when you're storytelling, a lot of I've realized a lot of people love character-driven stories. A lot of the time, when you're storytelling, do you think character-driven? Do you think that stories should be character-driven more nowadays to get to grab people attention and for people to relate to the character or like to even be interested in the story overall?
I'll go back to professional wrestling. You got to have a rooting interest. I got to
Hmm.
hate the bad guy. I got to root for the good guy. And you got to give me reasons for it.
Hmm.
Um, in the second book, there's a particular mercenary who's going to be the big villain of the thing. And he's cheating on one of the women that's in the group, and somebody tries to burglarize them, and he crushes the burglar's fingers in the door jamb to remind him not to do that anymore. So
Hmm.
now we know this is just an unsavory, cruel bad guy. We want him to get killed. So, chapter 13, we're very happy because he gets it. But if you don't hate the bad guy, or if you don't find some sympathy in the flawed character of the good guy,
Mm-hmm.
I can quit any time because I don't care how it turns out because I don't care about any of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the adventure that I put them through, it's classic. I mean, you have that same rising and falling action. The hero has to get close to succeeding and get knocked down, get close and get knocked down. So he's got to have things
Mm-hmm.
to overcome. And that's the classic quest from Greek mythology forward. So we know that those steps are what's going to happen. But how is it that these characters made those steps happen?
Mm-hmm.
So now I see why this guy can't be trusted and why that guy I root for and this one I'm
Right.
scared of. Um, it's almost like any group you put together, whether it's the Scooby Doo gang or any of them. You have to have all your personality traits covered. You have to have the leader and the cute one and the goof and the nerd. You have to have that. So yeah, any cartoon series, they got that same gang and a funny animal,
You,
and
yeah,
that's your crew.
you're not wrong. I love Scooby Doo. My friend says, have you ever written comics, Mr. Thomas? And if not, what character or title would you be interested in taking on?
Okay, yes and no. Another publisher who was a very nice endorser of my book, he publishes public domain comics. So all the characters from the 40s and 50s that nobody renewed the trademark, they're happily reusing them. So that's good. And he asked me if I want to do something for them. And I had something in mind, but I didn't write it as a comic script. It wound up going into a short story collection. It's called Dimensions of Superheroes, also available at Amazon. And I've got a couple of stories in there. The character that I came up with, I call him Ether, Aether, so it looks classy. But his powers are he can either be invisible or intangible, but he cannot be both.
Hmm.
So he's always got to decide, well, I need to be this or I need to be that. Because if I'm intangible, they can see me. But if I'm invisible, they can touch me. And it creates some strategy. But the short
Hmm.
story that I did was he gets recruited for his universe's Justice League, and he has to go to headquarters, and he's got to talk to personnel, which puts him through the whole uniform allowance. And Dr. Infinity runs our group health plan. And it just all the crap that you would get if you're getting a job at the mall, but now you're getting it with the Justice League. And I just
Hmm.
this is stuff that would be going on. Somebody's got to run the business part of the business. So that
Sure,
was what
sure.
I explored. If you gave me a character that I could take over, the first one I thought of is the Punisher.
Ooh, that's a good one. Why the Punisher?
Well, they kind of screwed him up these last few years. Instead of being the Vietnam War vet vigilante out for the mob that killed his family,
Yeah.
they turned him into some kind of magic ninja that could resurrect his dead wife. And then Marvel just sort of decided, oh, we can't have a hero who kills people. So they croaked him and brought in a new Punisher with stun bullets, and that just cracked it all up.
Oh my God.
I think if you're going to create an anti hero, the
Mm,
Punisher, Dirty Harry, whoever, stay true to that. The best character in Tombstone was Doc Holliday. Why? Because he was interesting. He had layers. He had stuff going on.
oh wow.
He had bravery and regrets. That it was an interesting stew. And I think the Punisher could be that interesting stew. And you could
Mm,
still have all that action and everything, but yeah, a thoughtful Punisher who thinks about what he's doing and why. He's not just a wind up GI Joe killing machine. He thinks about what he does. I think that
Wow.
would be interesting to write.
Wow. That's freaking fantastic, actually.
But
Um,
in the first book, the Deadly Genesis File,
mhm.
buy 2 copies. Um, when the lead character has his first kill, the first thing he does is vomit all over his shoes. Cause it's
Yeah,
real. Cause death is
that's all right. That
sticky and
is, yeah,
squishy and smells bad and stuff, right?
yeah. All right,
So
that's
it's not supposed to be clean or easy. The whole book, he only kills 4 people in
wow.
200 plus pages. He only kills 4 people. James Bond
Uh,
does that before the opening titles.
that's true. That is very true. But my friend just said Marvel won't let Mike Barron touch the Punisher anymore. They should hire Ronald. They should
I'm up
definitely
for
hire
it.
you. They should
Um,
definitely hire you.
in okay. Side note:
Okay.
when I was working on my uh, books back in the 70s and 80s,
Mhm.
I had this genius idea that Captain America would make a great paperback adventure hero.
Hmm.
So I wrote a spec chapter of Captain America doing a hijacking in the late 70s and sent it to Stan Lee. And Stan wrote back and said, "Hey, this is pretty good. I'm going to kick it over to the people that do our trade books.
Mhm.
But yeah, very good. Keep it up."
Mhm.
30 years later, I'm at a convention and Stan is there, and I brought the letter. And I said, "Stan, you kind of encouraged me." So I kept writing and I was teaching writing, and I never got to this, but it kind of kept me going. He took a picture of it, of the letter that he had sent me back in the late 70s.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if you're going to get rejected by the best. But if anybody ever pats you on the head and says, "Hey, that was an interesting story," or "That made me laugh," then, yeah. In fact, I have a buddy here in Orlando
Mhm.
who is an administrator over at UCF, but we worked together at another university, and he was doing a few private eye novels that were very well received. And I got a copy of one of them, and I said, "Tom, I forgot you wrote this. I was just into the story that much." So I wasn't reading Tom's book anymore. I was reading the book. And I thought that was the highest compliment I could pay him, because I said, "I got lost in your book." Because, like,
That's a good read.
if a character swears in the book, Tom doesn't swear, but the right character has to swear at the right time. And I thought, "Oh, Tom would never drop an F bomb." I mean, I would, but the character did. But his use of actual street names and actual neighborhoods and things, I know exactly where the guy is making a right hand turn.
Mhm.
So it was real. I was in it. I forgot my buddy wrote it. I just wanted to find out who done it. So yeah, I was living in his book.
Man, that's a good read right there. Wow. Well, before we hop off, can you let us know where we could follow you and so we can catch up on your projects?
Okay. I actually took out the same social media handle on every platform, even if I don't use it.
Okay.
So uh, DRRONTHOMASJR, Dr. Ron Thomas Jr., all one word. That's Facebook, that's my website, that's Twitter, that's everything. I
Awesome.
even got a
And
YouTube channel that's not as good as yours.
oh man. But and I am Kevin Davis. You can find me on Facebook at I am Kevin Davis CEO. Uh, YouTube at Kevirsyle and Instagram at I am Kevin Davis official. Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your expertise. I really hope you had a great time. It was a great time talking to you.
Thank you. I
And
enjoyed it. I even enjoyed the questions coming in out of left field.
and thank you guys for tuning in. And follow us here at the Madness Network at Kevirsyle Network. And we'll see you guys next time. Oh, also like and subscribe. Um, and have fun. Later, guys.
Thank you.
If you missed the live viewing of any Madness Entertainment Group production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. We'll see you next time on the Madness Entertainment Group.